Thanks, dude. Cool. Hi. I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not a real software developer, so don't ask me any coding questions. I don't do that. We normally do all these amazing presentations at AWS. We talk about the huge successes we have with our customers. And we do. We have amazing successes with our customers. And when we were thinking about what to present, I'm like, we normally don't talk about the bad stuff. We normally don't talk about the stuff that customers do that we have to kind of fight with them and spend 2 or 3 years getting over, and the hard stuff that we do. So that's where this presentation came from. It's kind of like lessons learned on the way to the cloud. When I was sitting down with Sarah Bassett, who's the state manager for AWS here in Western Australia and South Australia, we had a whole bunch of alternate titles for this. And we went through a lot of them before we got to Cloudy with a Chance of Amazing. As you can see, there's a bunch of different ones. I'm not going to read them all to you because you can read just as well as this. So we were trying to be kind of clever and kind of funny. I kind of like that one. That was okay. Sarah liked that one because she actually has kids and I don't. This was actually my original title for this one. But we decided that was not politically correct, so we had to get rid of it. Anyway, so what's the deal here? The deal is that if you don't use cloud correctly, you could end up spending a lot more money. You could end up spending a lot more time than you otherwise would. You can move a lot more slowly, and you don't get the benefits that we always talk about with cloud, which is agility and getting to market quicker or doing things cheaper or anything like that. So we really want you to do the right thing here. The interesting thing about IT is that we seem to do the same thing over and over and over and over again, and we don't change it. So this quote actually isn't from Albert Einstein. The internet says it is. They lie. It's not. It's actually from a book in about 1983. It's a novel, and the quote is from a character in the novel. But my point is, if you keep doing the same thing, why do you expect a different result? Doing things in the cloud, the same way you do them on premises or the same way you've been doing them for the last X number of years, is not going to give you a different result. Cloud is not magical pixie dust that you can just sprinkle on stuff and it's all happy and great and hey, we can take SAP and run it in serverless. No, you can't. It doesn't work like that. Okay, sorry. Should I have said Kubernetes there? Was that the right thing? No. All right. So anyway, it isn't magic. There is actually stuff to work here. So my first point is that a lot of companies seem to be very, very scared of automation. Automation is a good thing. Now, I can tell you this, when I was running my own company, L7, a few years ago, I really struggled to get my engineers to automate it. They thought they were doing themselves out of a job, or they didn't want to learn how to code. And this was not a good thing, because it turns out that people are really, really smart, and they're really good at doing complex tasks, but they're very bad at doing repetitive tasks. Computers are dumb, but they're fast. Okay, and they're really, really good at doing things over and over again, and they don't get bored. Now, you're software developers, you know this. Automation is your friend. So I'm like, why should we automate this stuff? We can become more efficient. And besides, I automate stuff because I'm lazy. I don't want to do it again. If I'm doing something twice, why would I not automate it? And this is our challenge. In the cloud, people tend to go into and use, what was the term I heard the other day? ClickOps. Okay, they're using their console. I'm like, that's great. You can spin up a server in seconds, and that's fantastic. But what happens when you want to run 100 servers? What happens when you want to do this again? Oh, we just have a run sheet. No, you don't want a run sheet. You want the machine to do it for you. Okay, so automate everything. But you guys already get this, so that's not a lesson you need to learn. This is a big thing, and this applies to everybody. And that is, it's really, really easy to scale up in the cloud. Okay, how many times have you heard them saying, oh, there's infinite capacity? If you heard somebody say that, they're lying. It's not infinite. It's big, okay? It will run out eventually. But the point is that it's really, really easy to scale up, and people forget to scale down, okay? In AWS, if you look at any particular customer's bill, with the exception of Netflix and A Cloud Guru, your biggest bill is your compute. Turn it off. Turn it down. Make it smaller, okay? If you're an enterprise customer, run those computers hot. You're not going to hurt them. It's okay. They can run at 100%, and as long as your user response time is okay, you should absolutely do that. If you're a startup, have scaling policies that scale back down. Okay, scale down to the minimum that you need. That will save you money. and we're all about saving money. We actually do want customers to spend less. If you want to spend more, that's fantastic. We'll take your money every day of the week, but we'd much rather you spend less. You know why? Because then you come back later. You're happy customers. That's good for us. No, this is a big trick in enterprise space. They go, oh, okay, we're going to use the cloud. What are we going to do? We're going to write an architecture document for every single service in the cloud. All of them. Every single one. And I'm like, yeah, you don't want to do that. You really don't want to do that. No, yes, we do. Because if we don't have an architecture document, no one will know how to use it correctly. And then we have to give that to our cybersecurity department, and they have to write a security document. And then we have to give it to operations people, and they have to write an operations document. And then once we're finished, we can go away and use the cloud. I'm like, oh, do we really have to do this? And it turns out that, yes, we really do have to do this, and it's a really, really, really bad thing. So why wouldn't you do that? And my clicker's just died. Oh no, it came back. Hey, woo. Anyway, there we go. So why wouldn't you do that? Because the admin overhead is just crazy. It takes months and months and months to write these documents, okay? And you know what happens when you're spending months and months and months writing documents? Whoops, did it again. There we go. Stuff changes, okay? I don't know if you've kept up with the AWS What's New feed. There's like 2 or 3 things every single day. Okay, the last time I did this for a customer, I wrote 19 documents for them, and we were 2 months into their submission process, and I kept throwing new documents at them, like that were revisions of the current documents, and they're going, stop doing that. And I said, no, you have to have this because it's got features in it that you want now. But we haven't finished certifying your documents from the last time. I'm saying, so why are we doing this then? Okay, it's a very bad story. Okay, so how would you get around this? The way we get around it with our customers eventually when they figure out that this is a really, really bad idea is they put guardrails in place. They take all the structures that we give them on their accounts and they say, these are the things that you can use and you can use them any way you like. And we will just have controls and detections in place to see if you're going to use it wrong. Otherwise, just run with it. And that gives these big customers flexibility to do that, but it gives them that sense of control, okay, which is good for them. So it's kind of trust but verify. Okay, so this is really important. I cannot tell you how many customers decide to go down this path, and then 12 to 18 months later, when they've wasted thousands of man hours, go, yeah, okay, that was a bad idea. So, told you so. This is the other big thing. Customers come along and they go, I really want to do this, but my security team says no. And we go and talk to the security team. Why are you saying no? Well, because it's not secure. Okay, all right. And that normally ends up being a very, very long conversation. It turns out security does not have to be a blocker. Now, you've probably heard this, and I won't give you the whole security spiel from AWS because we could be here all day doing that. But the short version is we have customers who firmly believe they are more secure in the cloud than they are in their on-premises because we do all the security stuff for them. You've seen the shared security model stuff. That's all fantastic. The point is, we need customers to believe that. It's a trust thing, okay? But when you get there, security can actually work with the business and not be a blocker. And there's a great example of this, and that is from, oh, my mind just went blank. Bank in Queensland. Anyway, I'll think of their name in a second. Their security team decided that they could not keep up with their DevOps teams. Okay, so they went away and taught the security team to be developers so that the security team would not be a blocker. Okay, so they started doing, and they actually, went, yes, this DevSecOps thing actually does work for them. Okay, but the security teams don't have to be a blocker. And this is an absolutely key message, and if you're a security person, and you think the cloud is a problem, come talk to me. I will eventually convince you otherwise, but sometimes it takes a long time. Now, this, by the way, is a YouTube video. So it's Eric Brandwine. He is a VP of security at Amazon, and he's talking about how Amazon automated their own security practices. So from about 10 years ago, when every single security ticket would come in and get processed by a person, they said, yeah, this is not any good. We actually have to automate this. And in his own words, he said, we started writing really, really bad code. Awful code. He said it was terrible. But you know what? It got us over a hump. And then eventually we came back and wrote better code, and better code, and better code, to the point now where something like 98% of all security tickets raised in Amazon are automatically resolved by automation. Okay, and that's just huge. It means they can scale. And they've proved that, that security doesn't have to be a blocker in that case. So please go watch that. It is absolutely well worth your time. If you've got people in your business who think that automation can't solve this, they should watch that as well. The other thing that people don't do when they get into the cloud is use it for cloudy stuff. And that sounds really strange, okay? But people who aren't in the cloud are used to going out and buying large amounts of infrastructure, which takes months or years, and then running these huge capital projects that then generally fail because they're not doing, that whole agile methodology thing of trying out small things. And obviously, you can do that well in the cloud. But what they also forget is that you can't, they forget that you can do large-scale, enterprisey things in the cloud. So what happens if you've got this big workload that you have and you want to stress test it? Well, on premises, you can't do that. It's really hard to buy a whole copy of your production environment and put it over here and then test it, because that's really expensive. But in the cloud, you can run it up and test it. What happens if you want to run it at 200% of the size? Well, you definitely wouldn't do that on premises. That'd be crazy. But in the cloud, you can do it to see what your application's going to do. And that applies to both enterprises and to startups. So your ability here to go away and do crazy things that you could never do otherwise is something that enterprises and other companies just don't seem to get. Right? So we have to go in and say, hey, have you considered that you could do this? And running a complete test of your environment, running a complete disaster recovery test of your company is going to cost you about $150. And if you automate it, there's that word again, it might only take you an hour, and you can do it anytime you like. And that's a big mind shift for people. They don't get that sometimes. This is the other big one that I come across all the time. Companies love to buy software, right? Yeah, you know what? We found the perfect document management system. We found the perfect CRM, okay? We're going to go buy it. And they go, well, I say, well, why are you going to buy it? Well, because we can get it off the shelf, we can install it, and then we just don't have to worry about it. Okay, well, hang on a second. Have you getting that you have to do upgrades and you have to patch it and you're going to customize it and you do all these things, and in 5 years' time, by the time you've customized it so much that now you can't upgrade it anymore, okay, does that really sound like a good idea? Why wouldn't you build your own system? Oh, no, because then we'd need to patch it and upgrade it and take care of it. And I'm like, well, yeah, but then you actually get what you want, rather than trying to shoehorn your business practices into a system that isn't right for you. And the funny thing is, a lot of companies think buy is very, very risky. Sorry, build is very, very risky. And I would argue that buy, and if you look at any of the very large-scale projects that happen out there, buy is also very, very risky. Now, you wouldn't go buy a database. You wouldn't go buy a you wouldn't build a database. You wouldn't build a message queue, okay, because those sorts of things already exist. So there's a sliding scale here on what you actually want to do. But at the same time, building your own systems is actually a good thing. And again, you're software developers, I'm preaching to the converted, but business owners don't tend to get this. They see less risk in a very big bill up front rather than doing small things along the way. Okay. So I like to have this discussion with people because it really does deliver a better result in the long term. I love this one. Okay. No, I can't have a single cloud vendor because I'll be locked in. Really? So how many network vendors do you have? One. How many telephony vendors do you have? One. Okay. You don't think you're locked in? How many email vendors do you have? One. You don't think you're locked in? This is a really crappy argument. Okay. It's about risk, which is on the next slide as well. The people are like, no, I really need to have multiple vendors. So why don't you have multiple network vendors today? Oh, it would be too hard to train my teams, interoperability between them would be really bad, it would just be really, really difficult. We have multiple contracts and stuff. So why are you trying to have multiple contracts in the cloud? Okay. Oh, you know what we're going to do? We're going to run a broker. The broker will take care of all of it for us. Okay. Yep, until you realize that now you're at the lowest common denominator. Now what I'm about to say is a really unpopular message for my salespeople, but I say it to customers all the time. I'm like, look, I want you to choose a single cloud vendor. I would much rather it be us, okay? Because I want you to be good at one thing. I don't want you to be mediocre at 2 or 3, okay? That's really, really bad news. Pick one and stick to it. Warts and all, figure it out, make the decision, and go for it. Stop messing around with feet in both camps, okay? That's a really, really bad way to go. And then it's about risk. Oh, yes, but if we go with one, what happens if it goes away? Well, you're using Office 365, right? What happens if that goes away? Using Gmail, what happens if that goes away? You know, you've got one single vendor that's providing your internet pipe. What happens if they go away? Okay, you've got to, at some point, you've got to draw a line in the sand and go, this is the risk we're willing to take. Okay, and this also comes down to failures. Okay, it's not just about failure of an entire vendor that you're coming from, it's also about hardware failures and software failures. And those are failures you have to plan for. Okay, I get a lot of arguments from customers going like, oh no, we can't go to the cloud because it's just not reliable. I'm like, you know what, we're actually pretty good at running large-scale data centers. Okay, we do it a lot. I don't know if anybody in the room remember when AWS had an availability zone failure about 3 years ago? Yeah, okay, yeah, I know you do. Okay, okay, all right, okay. We had a major storm in Sydney, okay, it took out an availability zone, all right. We had 90% of the capacity in that availability zone back in around 4 hours, okay. There was another facility nearby that was being run by a major bank. They were hit by exactly the same thing, and it took them 2 weeks to get back to operations. Okay, how do we do it so fast? Because we plan for failure. Okay, and on top of that, and you should go and look at Mr. Bromberger's blog post about this on LinkedIn. Okay, thank you, Landgate. By the way, great argument for build over buy. Okay, and so. You know, it's all about planning for that. Hardware will always fail, okay? So you should be planning for that. You should build redundant infrastructure, redundant architectures. This is a bit of a mixed message, this one, because part of it is about failure of a vendor and part of it's about failure of hardware, but the same thing is you can plan for those sorts of things, okay? And we really encourage that. The other thing that people don't do is they go, you know what? I am just going to treat cloud like it's a big data center. I'm going to take my virtual machines and I'm going to put them in the cloud and everything will be better. Well, no, not really. That's the whole point of this. Okay, we want to encourage you to look at differentiated services. Look at those managed services that we can give you. Okay, why? And I'm sure I get an award every time I say this. Just running a database or running an instance or anything like that, that is undifferentiated heavy lifting that we can take away from you if you want us to. And it leaves you more time and more effort to go and do other things. Why run a database server when you can get a managed database? Okay. Why run a Docker cluster when we can actually run the orchestrator for you? Okay, it just doesn't make any sense. Does it cost you a little extra? Of course it does, but now you're forgetting that there's all these other people and other costs and time that you need to go and support that infrastructure. So please use the cloud native services. Again, in your chosen cloud vendor, that's totally fine because that will save you time and money in the long run. Culture is a big thing. This is really hard to change, but normally we find that customers are very risk averse, don't want to try new things. They don't want to let people play with stuff in the cloud or even on premises, okay? They put gatekeepers in the way, all these documents and all these approval forms. I know of many customers who go to the cloud and then still have a form you have to fill out in order to get a virtual machine. So it still takes 6 weeks, even though launching it takes about, 35 seconds. All right. Education is important. We need to teach people how to do things. That's all fine. And the other thing here, and we always talk about this, and you see this in startup circles a lot, is failing is okay. Fail fast, fail often. People do not want to hear the word fail. So let's change it, okay? Learning is okay, okay? Failing is just figuring out how not to do something, all right? Learning is what that is, okay? So go to the cloud, learn how to do stuff, and again, it's easy and it's cheap, to fail there. And that's, again, this cultural difference between what customers do on premises, where it's very, very expensive to buy new hardware, and if you fail at this project, well then who's going to pay for all this stuff? Learning is a better thing, and we can do that in the cloud a lot cheaper. So, this is it. This is the end. It's easy to use stuff the wrong way, but you can do it the right way. And again, automation is absolutely key. That's the big takeaway there as well. But also, I would encourage your security teams to go back and watch that video that I had the QR code there for earlier. Otherwise, yeah, I'm done. I'm just going to stop preaching at you now, because you developers probably want to hear stuff about Kubernetes and serverless and other stuff coming up next, right? So that's fine. Otherwise, thank you.